Hi everyone, RFG here with a review for Artis Impact, developed by Mass, published by Feuxon, and available on PC through Steam. This RPG with turn-based combat and lifesteal mechanics aims for a streamlined but still substantive experience as you're sent to various locations to determine whether there are AI threats. Beginning the game in Sunnyside Town with Akane, an agent for the Lith organization, and her AI companion Bot awakening from a large noise, the duo will immediately set out to investigate what's happened. Your first objective is fairly straightforward, and even though you won't be completely on rails to see it through, your current goal is usually listed at the top left of the screen. Your objectives aren't always as direct, and even though lifesteal mechanics can become a part of the gameplay loop fairly early on, these generally aren't forced on you to progress to your next main goal. Completing a main objective will generally require you to move time forward before you can move on to the next. At the top right of the screen is where you can see Akane's money on hand, the time of the day, and the current day of the week. Artis Impact basically works on a 3-day-a-week schedule. In the beginning, you have seemingly more strict main objective deadlines, but later on, the day of the week really seems to only affect optional factors. Many of your main objectives will be given to you at the Lith Club headquarters in Mayval Woods. A good amount of Akane and Bot's growth options are located here, but I'll get into those later. Completing a main goal and then advancing the day is the usual way to progress the game, and you can advance the day by finding a place to rest. In Sunnyside Town, you can do this by going back to Akane's place in the junkyard and sleeping there, but finding somewhere to sleep in other areas might not be as obvious. Resting will automatically save your game no matter the location you're in. Sunnyside Town and most other locations in the game consists of interconnected areas, and while the towns that you'll end up in make it a bit more clear on where places to rest are found, a lot of in-game interactions aren't found with noticeable on-screen prompts. You will see some occasional on-screen indicators, but Artis Impact encourages you to interact with just about anything you can see on screen, and if something does provide a response with the regular interact button, you can try using the special interaction button with it to get a different reaction. In towns, you may be able to find a notice for a part-time job that'll provide you with money and other positive effects, ATMs to provide you convenient access to any cash you have saved up in your account, and a lot more. In other areas, like the overworld maps, you may be able to find other accessible locations, and in others, you might find some bigger surprises. The time of the day plays a more important role in what you have access to and when. The day begins at 4 AM and basically stops advancing at the 23-hour mark. If you're just interested in advancing the day, there is no real limit to when you can rest to do so. There are still a number of things you can access even at the end of the day, but some events or characters may only be available at certain times depending on how far you are into the game, with some part-time jobs generally being the most stringent on time of day factors. Most part-time jobs have a certain period of time that they can be started, and they advance the clock by a certain number of hours before you can access them again the next day. Part-time jobs may sound like they aren't necessary, but they can often be your most consistent source of income. Money is rarely necessary to advance the game, and the jobs you complete for Lith do earn you a monetary reward, but having optional ways to earn money offers you a lot of ways and reasons to explore the world in Artis Impact. There are a lot of ways to spend your money, and a lot of the times it'll be on something that seems either arbitrary or maybe frivolous, but sometimes these can lead to a chain of events and often can provide you with mini stat bonuses. Whether it's buying food from a stall, spending time at the gym, or something you can use after upgrading your house, there are stat gains to find around the various areas in the game. Some of these come in the form of items that can be used in the menu before you get into a fight. You'll most commonly run into enemy encounters in the game's dungeon areas, but they can also be accessed in other locations, usually in certain events. Battles in Artis Impact are turn-based that can move very quickly due to their streamlined design, and turns flow once you've chosen an action for Akane. You have 4 choices per turn, and even though Bot will join you for each fight, it'll operate completely on its own, usually only after Akane acts. You can see both of their HP, MP, and TP values at the bottom right of the screen. Akane's battle choices are as follows. She can do a standard attack, use an attack art, guard, or use an item. Akane's standard attacks deal damage to one targeted enemy. Attack arts use MP or TP depending on the art. Each art has a different role for targeting, and arts that use MP are dependent on how much total MP is available. TP arts consume all available TP for use. Guarding can restore a decent amount of MP and TP and add additional defense from enemy attacks, while battle items can restore HP or MP. Most items you can acquire aren't usable in battle, but some that you do receive will be used automatically for benefits when you enter a fight. No matter your choice of action, after Akane acts, enemies or Bot's turns fluctuate on which will immediately go after. Bot doesn't have multiple options to decide from to take during its turn, but is instead dependent on its equipment on what action it will take in a battle. Enemy actions are less predictable, but are more than just about dealing damage. Attacks from enemies also build up arsenic on Akane. Arsenic isn't direct damage, though the more arsenic that builds up means the more damage Akane will take from enemy attacks. Unlike health or MP, arsenic buildup isn't healed by items or by resting, but you can reset the buildup by visiting a pharmacy and paying for the use of Purge 9, or deplete its buildup by showering for a certain amount of time, depending on the amount of arsenic in the meter. You can also prevent it from building up by finishing battles as quickly as possible, and part of that is by how you take advantage of the various stats you can increase. Most of the stat gains I've already mentioned generally range from the temporary to minor, while larger stat gains are benefited from the level up and combat rank up systems. Levels are gained from experiencing winning battles. There is a level cap based on Akane's rank, but you can increase your rank at the Lith Club for a price after earning enough levels, with each increase in rank costing more money to upgrade. Increasing Akane's rank doesn't lift the level up cap. Instead, they reset her level back to 1 so you can regain levels on top of the previously gained stats. Experience and level ups aren't the only things possible to win from battles. Items and equipment can also be won or earned in various other ways, while equipment can be obtained for both Akane and Bot. Akane's equipment consists of a weapon, armor, a necklace, earrings, and multiple accessories. Most of her equipment will affect a portion of her stats, and you can access and switch your equipment in the menu one by one or all at once with the optimization option. You can also upgrade some of her weapon stats at the Lith Club and other locations in the game. Upgrading her weapon isn't free, and each upgrade for Akane's weapons will cost more money for each level up. Augmenting her weapon with cores is another possibility while at the Lith Club. Cores aren't nearly as frequent to come across as items or equipment, but they can be transfused to add effects to a weapon, and they have the option to be upgraded individually with cash. Bot's equipment can be swapped in and out as well, though that can only be done in bot cubicles like the one at Lith Club. Its equipment options are more limited than Akane's. Bot's default weapon slot is equipped with the heal, but you can find alternatives that provides a different kind of assist in battle. It can also be equipped with 2 other supplemental equipment. Bot's weapons can be upgraded with each level costing more, though its stats are still more geared to keep it a support unit. The Lith Club has other optional character growth potentials for Akane, with books for mastery skills and additional arts that you can purchase with coins earned from completed missions. There are other art and skill books you can find out in the world through exploration and interactions. There are a lot of options for character growth, particularly for Akane, and while early battles did feel difficult, fights that were seemingly impossible at first became much easier to manage with a decent amount of progression. That did require some early experimenting at first, as I did take advantage of the game's autosaving by resting frequently enough, but by also using the optional permanent save slots you can make at a certain dollar cost. But that early experimenting was due to part of the charm that I was already experiencing from the beginning of Artis Impact. It's hard for me to explain exactly what it is about Artis Impact that left such an impression on me, especially since it grabbed me very early on. Even close to the start of the game, I started to see how much passion was poured into it. Akane and Bot have some form of interaction with just about everything in Sunnyside Town, and in many of those situations, Akane has a separate animation accompanying it. And while I saw this amount of effort so early in the game, I started to think if it was possible there would be this persistent level of passion throughout the entirety of Artis Impact, and for the most part, I think there is. Its pixel art animation is smooth in just about every aspect, from Akane's actions that are used in battles, to almost all other acts outside of them. Everything moves with thoughtful detail. Even in the moments where the game switches to alternate art styles, you'll see a different kind of expressive pixel art. Its story and cutscenes mixes that pixel art presentation with manga or comic style panels, and occasionally more minimalist art at what felt like perfectly planned moments for when each style is used to emphasize every bit of what it's conveying, whether that's the game's humor, tense scenes, or more evocative moments. The game does use some stock images for a number of scenes, but often combines and blends it with its original art, and even though it was noticeable to me, it was in a way that still adds to the variety of quality rather than take away from it. The story itself gradually gets more interesting the further you progress, but it's really the way Akane and Bot interact with each other and how they react to events that I felt really pushes the narrative, with less serious moments adding more personality. Dungeons and battles are a bit more complicated. The game's streamlined design for battles and simple character optimization may make it sound like fights themselves aren't compelling, and most dungeons are very straightforward to the point that some could consider that a fault. But Artis Impact's pacing and presentation are generally well handled. Not every fight is going to or needs to grab your full attention, however, key fights are set up with the same visual design you see throughout Akane and Bot's adventure, with some fights having some additional flair you won't see in cutscenes. Some dungeons are pretty short and can be limited in the number of possible enemy encounters, but between the optional and mandatory ones, they are spread apart fairly evenly, with longer dungeons having more to offer in explorability, interactivity, and more chances to see interactions between Akane and Bot. Music is overall pretty impressive. Most tracks will fit a particular area and will do it well, and then there are some absolute great pieces spread out inside and outside of battle. Artis Impact itself is a decent length experience, and even with the life sim mechanics, their mostly optional design means they're never really a hassle since they don't have too many strict rules applied to them. The streamlined design of the game keeps things moving at a good pace, and I think there are plenty of options to assist you in difficulty if you need them. But I do think that to get the most out of Artis Impact depends on how much effort you're willing to put into the game yourself. There are a lot of great moments that you can't really miss, but not everything has an immediate payoff. Sometimes there are events that might require more exploration and/or commitment depending on the interaction, and that sometimes may have a story impact, but can also have something else to reward you with for that commitment. This can come in the form of aptitudes which you can earn that add to your overall stats, respect points that can be gained and add up which you can see in the save and load screens on any of the save slots you're using, and the other rewards you might not have come across without exploring and interacting with the environments you'll visit. There is also a new game plus, so if any sections were giving you trouble or if you feel there's anything you missed in your first playthrough, it does let you carry your arts, skills, aptitudes, and money over, though you do start the new playthrough back at class 1 level 1 with 0 respect points. Artis Impact's use of multiple visual styles that feel like they were precisely picked for their moments, the options that players are offered without overwhelming complexity, and its design for progression are all things that left a lasting impression on me, but most of all, I'm impressed with the amount of passion that was poured into making it. It may not be a perfect match for those looking for a complex battle system or deep character build options, and still has some errors in its English script, but its narrative, largely because of Akane and Bot's interactions, its progress structure, and the amount of dedication I can see that went into its creation, does make me feel like there are a lot of people out there who can appreciate what it has to offer. I still can't exactly describe what it is about Artis Impact that grabbed me as much as it did, but this is definitely one of my favorite games of the year so far, and it's an experience I don't think I'll ever forget. And that's it from me. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. Bye.